Hello, DeFi Alpha listeners. My name is Seb. Welcome back to the podcast. This is part 2, talking about the Gotchiverse, and I'm here with the Alpha specialist, Gerry. How are you today, Gerry?
Yeah, good, mate. Let's get into it again because there's still a heap to talk about, especially with the DeFi farming elements that are going to be presented very shortly with all this these new tokens that we'll be able to start farming and playing with.
Yeah, exactly. If you're just tuning into this one and you haven't listened or watched part 1, as we are now putting our faces on the podcast and putting this on YouTube, but it's also available on Spotify, then make sure you listen to that. Gerry has done all the research, and I just kind of absorbed the alpha. So thanks, Gerry. And
No worries.
yeah, basically from there, we've just gone ahead and just gone through a couple of different categories. But now I feel that most people are going to be a little bit confused on the DeFi farming stuff. Maybe they want a little bit of kind of strategy advice. So of course, it's not financial advice, but we'll kind of tell you what our predictions are. So you mentioned last podcast that you think as soon as the liquidity pairs go in, so Ghost and Keck as an example, a bot's going to come in within the first kind of few seconds. They're going to buy up all of the Keck, and all of a sudden the price is going to essentially 10x or more.
Yeah, I think there's going to be basically no Keck left in that pool, and it's just going to be all Ghost. So if you can find some Keck in those first few days or even hours, I'd probably get it straight back into that pool because you're going to be absorbing an awful lot of that Ghost backup. So liquidity pools, if you're not dealt with them, if you think of a rather large person jumping into a kid's paddle pool and what happens to the water, that's liquidity basically. Someone would drain the liquidity of one of the two assets in that pair. And in the first few minutes, it's just bound to happen because there's not much actual money being put into these pools. So there's not much there to actually sustain the prices, and it's just going to get drained. So Coda Dan himself basically admitted that they're expecting this to 10x. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes way beyond that at certain points in those first few moments. So I'd probably just steer clear of it initially, let the big boys do what they're going to do, because there's only $20,000 worth of liquidity going into this initially, which is absolutely nothing to some of the whales in this game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's $20,000 worth of liquidity of Ghost, and then another $20,000 on the other side. So in some ways, it's $10,000 worth of liquidity per pool. But even still, like, just to give you a good idea, like a really decent liquidity pool would probably have $10 million or more, and a really, really good one would probably have $100 million worth of liquidity or more. And we're looking at something that has $10,000. And just to give you like a little bit more of a breakdown on this. So at the moment you'd have 50% Keck, 50% Ghost, and then someone comes in and they buy all this Keck, and so they replace it with Ghost. We now have 10,000 Ghost, and we have a very small amount of Keck. So that's $20,000 worth of Ghost there. And that means this very small amount of Keck, which may be 10% of the original amount, is now worth $20,000 as well, because it's always 50%, 50%. And that basically means that in terms of a strategy, which we'll kind of go over, the wrong thing to do is just to jump in and buy it initially.
Yeah, if you add Ghost at that point, you're buying a very small amount of Keck for your Ghost. So try and keep that in mind. And it's not immediately obvious to a novice user what's going on. It really isn't. And especially with a new currency that, might have, a string of 10 numbers after the decimal point or something. It's very easy to get confused, and that's how you get wrecked. And to be honest, even when they launched the Ghost token, there was only $50,000 worth of liquidity stumped up. And I deliberately didn't go into it because I could see what was going to happen. And that was close to 2 years ago when no one knew what Aavegotchi was. So, this is going to be hotly contested. We've got all these DAOs that have huge amounts of money behind them that are going to want to get these tokens as soon as they go live. So that liquidity is going to get drained. So again, I think the optimal play for most people, especially most individual people that are running around, is try and collect as much alchemica as you can and maybe consider adding it to that pool and basically selling it for Ghost, because you're probably going to get quite nice returns in that first week, especially before Pixelcraft come along with the second wave of liquidity, which I think is another $80,000 worth based on current prices of Ghost after the first week.
Exactly. So, and probably, it's very difficult to time a bottom or a top. So, for example, like, if Ethereum hit $4,500, a lot of people wouldn't have sold any then. And, as soon as it kind of dipped down to, say, 2,300, a lot of people wouldn't have bought it. And you've probably heard this term too many times. It's probably annoying, but like dollar cost average, it's where you buy like $100 or a small amount every week, just bit by bit. The same can also apply to taking profits. So as an example, let's say you've been farming like a madman, you've been renting out your gotchis, you've got like this brilliant schedule where all of a sudden you're playing it 4 hours a day and then someone else is playing it 4 hours a day and so on and so on and so on. And like your gotchis are just active. They're just farming little machines, scavenging little machines. You may then decide that the smart move is to check the price of Keck and then to sell. All right, I'm going to sell 5% today, and then tomorrow, okay, I'm going to sell 5%. And it's all about really kind of sticking to a plan. You want to stick to a plan because the whales will still continue to buy this up. Of course, you do have the option of accumulating a little bit, so you can get your own golden altar, which we've spoken about in the previous podcast. But remember, you've got until the 30th of April to come up with the funds and to mint one of those. So it doesn't have to be rushed. And then as soon as more liquidity comes in on the 7th day, I would expect probably a small dip in prices, nothing too extensive, and that can change, and we'll update you based on what we see on chain. Like if a lot more people are adding Ghost and Keck to the liquidity pool, then of course, it's quite possible that on day 6, the pool itself could be worth $400,000 for Keck. And then, if Aavegotchi, Pixelcraft Studios, if they come along and they put in another 10,000 Ghosts and the equal amount of Keck, so like $40,000 worth, that might not be even like, it might not do much to the price due to the fact that people have been pouring in their own tokens. So
it'd be interesting to see how the Ghost price itself responds. Seb, like maybe people will start piling into Ghost so they can start to buy all these assets, because the only way to buy them is through Ghost. So that's going to be really interesting to see how the price of Ghost performs. We've seen it have these sort of not boom and bust, but sort of peak and trough cycles based on the games. The GBM auctions and the raffles. Each time that's happened, we've seen a big spike in price, and I think we got past $3 last time, so it has pulled back quite a bit.
Yeah,
very interesting to see how it runs over these first 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think we're at like $2.02 USD value at the moment, which I think is ridiculously reasonable. The other day, I was just going through some play to earn games and their token prices. You can do this as well if you want, or I'll even put them up on the screen. So I don't have them in front of me, but basically Axie Infinity and their Smooth Love Potion, it's down like considerably, like probably well over 90% in value, maybe 95% value from the all-time highs. Even their governance token, AXS, is down probably 70%, 60 to 70%. And then there are other ones that I'll throw up there as well.
Yep.
In different ecosystems, Star Atlas, and I'll throw up a couple, just flick them through, so you can kind of see them. Whereas, Ghost is down, but it's down from, I think, like $3.17 down to $2.02. And that makes a huge difference. That's not like, plus, you can stake it on chain and be earning 30% rewards.
That's right. Yeah.
And you look at the chart, and I'll put this on as well, but you're basically kind of going up and just a nice gradual growth. But now there's an actual product launching. So,
and to farm the to farm the glitter token once the GAX goes live, which is the decentralized exchange that's going to be built into the Gotchiverse, all those guilds are going to be wanting to get that token, and the only way to get it is to provide Ghost and Alchemica. So that alone, you might find some of these guilds come in with hundreds of thousands of dollars to start buying up some Ghost and depositing into these pools so they can start farming that glitter token. So who knows? There is a lot of commercial interests coming into this game from the partnerships that Pixelcraft has struck with all these other guilds. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And so initially all of these liquidity pools, they'll be on QuickSwap, and I'll probably flick out a super quick tutorial when it's live after things have kind of calmed down. If you're not familiar with all that. However, probably one of the best, if you're not kind of already in this ecosystem and you just listen to these for the value and you want to jump in, probably the easiest centralized exchanges to use would be Binance and also crypto.com, because both of them allow you to buy Matic token, which you use for gas, and USDC, and then you can both just withdraw from Binance or crypto.com straight to the Polygon network. That's how I would be doing it. Then I'd be buying the Ghost on chain, having a bit of fun with farming. If you're brand new to farming, go with something quite small, like maybe it's like, $100 worth of something, just to kind of learn the ins and outs, and then just actively learn, and then you can kind of go up from there. And I mentioned all that as opposed to buying Ghosts on Binance, because if you buy Ghosts on Binance, or if it's available on crypto.com, I think it might be, you can't withdraw them directly to Polygon. So it means you have to go to Ethereum, and then you have to bridge across, and that just adds $60 to $100 worth of fees, which is not necessary.
Yeah, Coinspot's another good option for Australian viewers. You can buy Matic and bridge directly onto Polygon with Matic. And then, as Seb was saying, you would then buy your Ghost on the Matic network, either by going directly to QuickSwap, or there is a buy Ghost button on the Aavegotchi website, which helps to take you there.
Yeah. So what like, we don't really talk about price predictions normally at all, but I'd be very surprised if we don't have all-time highs within 3 months, in my personal opinion, because there's too much stuff going on. What are your thoughts? I think we will have like $4 by June.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that already have a fair bit of skin in the game, and those sorts of people are going to be very focused on maximizing their investment. And I can see that they will actually be providing a lot of liquidity. So they're going to have deep liquidity from day one. And as they want to add to that position, they're going to have to buy more Ghost to do that, or farm more Alchemica, or both. So, there's some serious players, in this game. You have, like we mentioned before, with the Gotchi Vault, and some of these other DAOs and guilds that have thousands and thousands of players that will probably be itching to get into something that they can start to earn some yield on. And the Ghost token itself has a lot of yield built into it with what the Gotchi Vault is doing, what they're doing on Aave. You can deposit it on Aave or even borrow it on Aave to farm friends. So there's all these mechanisms in place to actually generate value and utility around the token, even if you're not using it directly in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's touch on Aave, because there's a couple of different strategies there. All of it's somewhat advanced, so we'll do our best to explain like I'm 5. But I guess once again, in this particular situation, if you're unsure, but you want to learn, just go and take like $30 or something quite small and just deposit a little bit, borrow a little bit, have a little bit of Matic left in your wallet for gas, and have a little bit of a learn. But so we now have version 3 of Aave, which basically is a more efficient market, I believe, like less gas. What are some of the other features? Do you know?
I'm not actually sure, to be honest. I'm not sure if there's new collateral types, perhaps that's been part of V3, but yeah, I haven't really followed too closely what they're doing there. But I do know that it has slowed up some of the things that Pixelcraft were going to push out relating to using AM Ghost. So AM Ghost is Ghost that's been deposited into Aave so other people can borrow, and you get a little bit of extra yield and interest by doing that. They want to make that the new sort of primitive, if you like, rather than just using Ghost. They probably want to have pools with AM Ghost. So maybe AM Ghost Keck, AM Ghost Matic, because it's more utility for the user. It's more yield for us. And the more that you can build into that, the more people are going to want to hold it and use it.
Yeah.
One other little bit of alpha, Seb. Sorry, one other little bit of alpha that I probably should mention is Friends. The Friends token is probably going to go away and be replaced by the Glitter token. They've hinted to that a couple of times. So definitely keep that in mind, that more or less, if you've been stacking Friends, there's probably going to be one last big hurrah in terms of a raffle. We don't know what that's going to actually entail yet. But after that point, Friends will become useless or worthless, I would think. And they're going to make Glitter the thing that you want to accumulate. It drives that second level economy. There's more use for Glitter in the game. So it's makes more sense, more valuable. Friends was really just something to keep us ticking over while they built this game out. So that is worth noting. So if you've been staking to farm Friends, you're going to have to spend them soon, or they're going to expire worthless. And maybe there'll be a way to transfer into Glitter, but I doubt it. I think it'll just be, this is your chance, guys. So this last raffle is probably going to have, well, it's going to have every friend that's ever been farmed in it. We don't know what this raffle is, when it is. I'd say there'll be a big portion of probably the remaining Citadel land plots going into there. There could be some new wearables. Who knows what's coming? But just keep that in mind, that Friends farming is going to go the way of the dodo. Basically.
Really? Wow. And you think the raffles are going to come to an end?
I think the raffles will probably continue, but I think basically Glitter is how you're going to be using it. So the incentive will be to be active in the game, or to, if you want to be passive and just provide LP liquidity positions on the GAX, on the decentralized exchange. That's how you can get your Glitter, and then you'll need to use that as your token. So you're going to have to weigh up, what do I want to do with my Glitter? Do I want to save it to, buff up my installations and improve my area or improve my Gotchi lodge, or do I want to throw it into this raffle? Maybe the bid to earn auctions won't use Ghost. Perhaps they'll use Glitter. We don't know yet. So that's all uncharted territory. But yeah, there are changes coming. So
okay, no, interesting. Very good to know. Hadn't heard anything about that. So we'll see how it all plays out. I guess at the moment I'm staking a decent amount. Well, not actually too much Ghosts. I'd like to be staking more, but I'm staking it. But as soon as I think the liquidity pools start to level out, and when the GAX comes online, I'm pretty sure pretty much all of my Ghosts will go in there and will be paired with KEK and other resources, providing the price isn't too crazy with FOMO, FUD, Alpha, KEK, so it doesn't incur a lot of impermanent loss. And if you are new to crypto and you don't understand what impermanent loss is, Whiteboard Crypto on YouTube has some fantastic videos on impermanent loss. Super, super easy to explain. I'll give you like a 10-second idea, but it's well worth watching his informative videos on impermanent loss. But basically, you put in 2 tokens into a liquidity pool. If one keeps on being bought, you get more of the other token. You have less of this token. And then let's say, as an example, that KEK suddenly moons, and you started with like 50 KEK and 50 Ghosts as an example, and now you've got 90 Ghost and 10 KEK. Well, if you just held the 2 outside of a liquidity pool, it might be worth more now. And you can see this with there are plenty of examples where it didn't work out well with the farming rewards. However, I don't think it's going to be the case here. I mean, remember, our strategy is probably we're going to sell a little bit of KEK and FOMO and FUD alpha maybe every day just to sell it. But we're probably not going to LP much, if at all, really. Or maybe we'll LP a small amount depending on the fees. We'll have to evaluate it, at least while it's on QuickSwap. Once the GAX comes up and there's Glitter rewards, that's a different story. So we'll have to see how that all goes. Now, I was just going to give you a little bit of insight into Aave quickly. So we mentioned that, there's different versions. So with Polygon, there was version 2, which is what we've been using for quite some time. And Gerry said how after you've deposited an asset like Matic or Ghost, when you deposit it, people can borrow it. And what you're given in return is you're given a token which is AM something. So AM Ghost, and that just basically represents the fact that you have deposited into that protocol, and you can always kind of convert it back in a way by by withdrawing it out of the protocol, and then you lose that AM Ghost. Now, at the moment, what I've got happening in Aave is I have some ETH. I have a little bit of ETH. And then what I'm doing is I'm borrowing some Ghost. Now, if you borrow Ghost on version 2, you're paying about 7% interest. And then you go and stake on Aavegotchi, you're earning about 33% in terms of friends. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. However, with version 3, you only pay, the last time I checked, about 4%. So it is better to be borrowing on version 3. There's just one kind of small caveat, and that is we both think that Ghost will be all-time highs pretty soon. I think kind of June. It all depends how well this Gotchiverse kind of, comes out. And we are in a bit of a bear market to an extent, so less people are interested. However, now there's an actual utility, and we all know, or we may know, what has happened with Axie Infinity in the past in terms of having something that people want to play. And now that we've got something like that building, the price will likely go up significantly. Not financial advice, of course, but basically you've got two options. While the price is low, you may wish to have your ETH deposit into Aave, and let's say you've got like $5,000 worth of ETH. You may then want to go and borrow, say, $2,000 worth of Ghost. So you've got plenty of headroom so that you don't get liquidated. Of course, you can go higher or lower depending on your risk level, but a kind of a good amount to have in terms of the collateral factor or the health factor is over 2, is well over 2. And I've seen your health factor on occasion, Gerry. It was not over 2.
Looking pretty sick.
Yeah, because as soon as you get down to 1, if all of a sudden the Ghost value goes up and Ethereum value goes down, then some of that Ethereum will be sold to market buy Ghost to reduce that position, and that's called liquidation. And there's fees involved, and it doesn't work out well. So at the moment, while the price is around $2, it might be like a good idea for you just to be like, okay, what we'll do is we'll just go and buy, we'll just go and borrow some Ghost, and we'll earn some friends. However, if that price starts to go up, you may want to consider reducing the Ghost exposure by paying back down some of that loan, or maybe increasing your ETH or whatever, wrapped Bitcoin or Matic or whatever you've got in there. That's the first option. What I'm probably looking at doing now personally, and I know that you just went and bought some more Ghosts, so maybe you're not doing this, but I'm pretty confident that Ethereum will stay around this rate, around $3,000, maybe get a little bit lower or get a little bit higher. And long term, I think it's going to get significantly higher. So I might go and deposit $5,000 worth of Ethereum, and then I might go and borrow USDC. And the USDC that I'm borrowing, I might borrow like $2,500 worth or something like that. I'm probably paying about 3% interest, which is not very much. And then I might go and market buy. So just buy normally all the Ghosts and go stake it. And then that way, if the Ghost price does appreciate, and that's what I'm expecting to happen, well, then if I ever needed to sell some of it to pay back that loan, I should be in a nice, in profit at the very least, because I've got my staking rewards and the price appreciation of Ghost. Now, of course, if Ghost goes down, then you're going to have to sell something else to pay back all that USDC. But I don't think that's a likelihood of something happening when it's shipping. It's shipping, Gerry. Shipper. The meme is real.
I was just gonna say, Seb, there's another strategy that's not particularly well known, but actually on Polygon there's Orion Money, which uses the Anchor protocol on Terra. But basically you can get 15% stable yield on your stable coins. So depending on how you wanted to play it, you could borrow moderately against some ETH or something like that. Borrow the stable coins at a dynamic rate that sort of fluctuates between 3 and 7, 8%. But you could borrow, say, USDC and go straight over to Orion, so app.orion.money, deposit it into there and get 15% yield, and then just farm that yield. So the extra USDC that you're getting every day, you could maybe take that and just buy Ghost with it, and it's reasonably low risk. You're playing one protocol off the other, and it's kind of in a way it's a low risk way to get some exposure to Ghost. It's going to take time to accrue value, and it really depends on how much money you have to throw around, but that's another way you could play it.
Okay. Yeah, brilliant. Are you doing any of that yourself?
No, so the stable coins I had slowly been stacking up from other yield just to de-risk the rest of my portfolio because I've gone a bit degen in other areas. I basically had that parked in Orion, earning 15%. I mean, I could have put it to Terra, but that's more complicated. I'll save that for another day. But I just, this morning I pulled it all out and just market bought Ghost. The FOMO got me in the end there. So we'll see how that goes. Ghost has been pretty good in terms of having some built-in downside protection compared to the rest of the market. It does get pulled back, but not nearly as savagely. So yeah, I'm still optimistic that's going to go in the other direction, but you just never know. So there's always risk.
Right, of course. And the other thing that you have touched on is basically, we see this nice kind of pattern with Ghosts, comes down, goes up, comes down, but it's super calculated. So for example, before a new launch of Gotchis, before more portals are released, all of a sudden up it goes. And then after that kind of dips down, or there's a new bid to earn raffle, up it goes. So now we have play to earn, farm drop, game drop, Gotchiverse actually shipping. Like it's a signal. And people haven't bought the news yet because for some reason,
No.
for some reason, when it comes to the Gotchiverse, like it's not properly on people's radars properly. And so what happens is people are like, okay, what I'll do is, I'll buy it when it goes up. And then, so all I'm saying, not financial advice, of course, but I think Ghost is going to go very quickly to $3 and then you know what's going to happen after that. So might be worth adding some Ghost to your portfolio.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent, generally low risk play. It's like we call it a stable coin because it has that stability built into it because of the bonding curve, which we've spoken about in previous pods. But it does, you sleep a bit easier. I know there's people that just like their entire portfolio is in the Gotchiverse assets and Ghost.
Yeah.
And every time there's a nasty pullback and everyone on Twitter is losing their mind, these guys are just, they're smoking a fat cigar. They're just like, I'm sleeping easy here. If I wanted, I could buy the dip. I could sell the Ghost and buy the dip on all these other assets. So some people that are heavily invested in Ghost and in the ecosystem are really enjoying it because you've also got that basically 40% yield based in by staking and farming friends for raffle tickets, all of that sort of stuff. That element's not going away. It's just the underlying token that you get is not going to be friends anymore. It's going to be this glitter token.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Fantastic. Well, look, that's basically my strategy. Obviously, your strategy, Gerry, is just market buy, go stake, and we will update you. We will update you in terms of, if we're putting reward, maybe Keck and Ghosts into the QuickSwap liquidity pools, and potentially we will. However, I think we're most likely going to be waiting until the GAX comes out. But we'll have to see what happens with QuickSwap, and who knows, maybe they might incentivize it slightly so that you get some rewards. Otherwise, it'll just be a portion of the swap fees, which is still, it still could equate to a sizable amount of money. The other thing, I guess, the last thing to note, whenever you're buying an asset with a low liquidity pool, make sure, if you definitely want to buy it, make sure that you're breaking up your orders if necessary. So let's say you're a bit of a whale, but you're not a savvy whale. Like you haven't done this all before. You're not savvy yet. So you might go, all right, I'm going to buy $5,000 worth of the Keck. I don't care what the price is. That's great. Go in there, type in $5,000 and then, flick it over to Keck. And then you just have to have a look down below. There'll be something which will say price impact. And if it's anything over 1%, I would break up the order. So what may happen is you might have to go and do 10 orders at $500, and that will work out a lot better. You'll get more, and it won't take you much longer. It might take you a minute versus 10 seconds, and you get more. And I've made the mistake myself, and I see a whole lot of people in the ecosystem, just crypto in general, where they do this. And all of a sudden what will happen is a smart person will come in and they'll just suddenly buy the other side, and buying the other side, they just make a whole lot of money because they're willing
the miners themselves can do that because they can see the transactions that are coming, and they call that front running. So they can, or sandwich attacking, where they put a transaction in before and after yours and suck away all that extra liquidity, and you end up getting pretty badly wrecked. That mostly happens over on Ethereum mainnet. It's not so much of an issue on Polygon. And like you were just saying, Seb, doing multiple transactions on Polygon is, it's fractions of a cent. It's really cheap. So it's well worth the extra time to just reduce your slippage by putting multiple smaller transactions through rather than one big one where you're going to lose 5 to 10% potentially with a small pool.
Exactly. Well, that's been quite a bit of alpha, to be honest, and that's months, years of just little tips and tricks of things that we've screwed up along the way. So definitely heed that advice. It's none of it's financial advice, but just be smart when you're playing with liquidity pools. And if in doubt, just do a small amount, like just learn it a little bit better first, because we want you in the ecosystem for a long time. And, we'll do our best to protect you as well with a little bit of alpha. Is there anything you want to add, before I end this, podcast? So,
not really, Seb. I mean, you probably cover this in some of your instructional videos, I'm sure, but the only thing to mention is if this is all new to you, just got to make sure that you're buying the actual legitimate token and not a faked one. So head over to Coinswap and look up the token. And then over on the right, you'll be able to click on the contract address and paste that into QuickSwap. 90% of the time it's fine, but just today, one of my friends bought a fake token over on Ethereum and wondered why the price didn't do what they thought it should have done. So it is easy done. And this is people that have been, in the game for a few years. So you just got to keep that in mind as well. But I'm sure, like I said, that'll be in one of your videos, Seb.
What website should they use?
I use CoinGecko.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what I said there. But I use CoinGecko. They're pretty good at updating the smart contracts to make sure that you're getting the right token.
Yeah, I'll flick that on the screen as well. And sometimes, coins won't immediately list on CoinGecko. So Keck, FOMO, FUD, Alpha, it might not be present. I would imagine it'd be present pretty quickly, like within a day or so. But if not, you can get the contract address from the Aavegotchi Discord. And to be honest, I think, in the next podcast, we'll just include them at the bottom of...
I'm sure they'll tweet it out once it's live as well with the actual contract address, because people ape into things as soon as they go live. And if someone spins up a fake Keck token, they're probably going to do it up themselves. So just be careful.
Yeah. And that will happen. It's definitely going to happen. So stay safe out there. Well, look, thanks very much for listening, everyone. Please tune in for the next one, and definitely share this with your friends. We do more than just Aavegotchi, and there's some pretty exciting things that I've been researching. And if you are interested in Luna, and you definitely should be the Terra ecosystem, make sure you're following Gerry regularly, because just Alpha Central over there. Thanks, Gerry.
No worries. Thanks, Seb. It's been fun.
Yeah, cheers. All right. Thanks, guys. Cheers.